Reading The Idiot, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Part 2, page 20. Man lie down, and then a great knife is brought down by a heavy, powerful machine called the guillotine. The head falls off before one has time to wink. Preparations are horrible. And they read the sentence, get the man ready, bind him, lead him to the scaffold. That's what's awful. Crowds assemble. Even women, though they don't like women to look on. It's not a thing for them. Of course not. Of course not. Such a horrible thing. The criminal was an intelligent, middle-aged man, strong and courageous, called Legros. But I assure you, though you may not believe me, when he mounted the scaffold, he was weeping and was white as pain. Isn't it incredible? Isn't it awful? Cries for fear. I had no idea that a grown man, not a child, a man who never cried, a man of 45, cry for fear. What must be passing the soul at such a moment? What anguish it must be brought! It's an outrage on the soul. That's what it is. It is written, thou shalt not kill. Because he has killed. Are we to kill him? No, it's impossible. It's a month since I saw that. But I seem to see it before my eyes still. I've dreamt of it half a dozen times. Michigan was quite moved as he spoke. A faint color came into his pale face, though his voice was still gentle. The footman followed him with sympathetic interest, so that he seemed sorry for him to stop. He, too, was perhaps a man of imagination and strainings after thought. It's a good thing, at least, that there is not much pain, he observed, when the head falls off. Do you know, Michigan answered warmly, you've just made that observation, and everyone says the same. And the guillotine was invented with that object. The idea occurred to me at that time that perhaps it made it worse. That will seem to you an absurd and wild idea, but if one has some imagination, one may suppose even that. Think. If there were torture, for instance.
Any idea where my phone is?
No?
Find it.
Did you call it?
Called it, goes straight to voicemail on Do Not Disturb.
Is it on the table in bed? Under something? Well, do you want me to come help look? No, I'm thinking for some reason it's on the table. No. You gonna help her look? Thanks, Ren. Two. But you don't know. It's like 3.5 minutes or about where we get. And we get through one page. The guillotine was invented. Maybe restart. Do you know, Michigan answered warmly, you just made that observation, and everyone says the same. And the guillotine was invented with that object. But the idea occurred to me at the time, perhaps it made it worse. That will seem to you an absurd and wild idea, but if one has some imagination, one may suppose even that. Think, if there were torture, for instance, there'd be suffering and wounds. Only be tortured by wounds till one died. But the chief and worst pain may not be in the bodily suffering, but in one's knowing for certain that in an hour, and then in 10 minutes, and then in half a minute, and then now, the very minute, the soul will leave the body, and that one will cease to be a man, and that that's bound. The worst part of it is that it's certain. And you lay your head down under the knife, and hear the knife slide over your head. That couch cushion, nice. That quarter of a second is the most terrible of all. You know that this is not only my fancy. Many people have said the same. I believe that so thoroughly that I'll tell you what I think. To kill for murder is a punishment incomparable worse than the crime itself. Murder by legal sentence is immeasurably more terrible than murder by brigands. Anyone murdered by brigands whose throat is cut at night in a wood or something of that sort must surely hope to escape to the very last minute. There have been instances when a man has still hoped for escape, running or begging for mercy after his throat was cut. But in the other case, all that last hope, which makes dying 10 times as easy, taken away for certain. There is the sentence, and the whole awful torture of life. Lost it. No, you can't treat a man like that. Oh, it was lost. Hey, this phone. I think since you came out and started sucking up a little bit of the bandwidth and de-streaming. You okay? Okay. You. Though the footman would not have been able to express himself like Michigan, he understood most, if not all, of the speech. That was evident from the softened expression of his face. If you are so desirous of smoking, he observed, you might be able to, perhaps, only you would have to make the haste about it. For his excellency might ask for you all of a sudden, and you wouldn't be here. You see the door under the stairs? Go in there, and there's a little room on the right. You can smoke in there. Only you must open the window, for it's against the rules. But Michigan had not time to go and smoke. A young man with papers in his hand suddenly appeared in the anteroom. The footman began helping him off with his coat. The young man looked askance at Michigan. This gentleman, Gavril Ardalionovitch, the footman began confidentially and almost familiarly, announces himself as Prince Mishkin and a relation of the mistress. He has just arrived from abroad with a bundle in his hand. Only Mishkin could not catch the rest, as the footman began to whisper, Gavril Ardalionovitch, 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 Ardalionovitch. Listened attentively and looked with great interest at the prince. He ceased listening at last and approached him impatiently. You are Prince Mishkin? He asked with extreme politeness and cordiality. He was a very good-looking, well-built young man, also about 8 and 20, of medium height, and with fair hair, a small Napoleonic beard, and a clever and very handsome face. Only his smile, with all its affability, was a trifle too subtle. It displayed teeth too pearl-like, and even in spite of his gaiety and apparent good nature, there was something too intent and searching in his eyes. He must look quite different when he is alone, and perhaps he never laughs at all, was what Mishkin felt. The prince briefly explained all he could, saying almost the same as he had to the footman, and before that to Rogojin. Meanwhile, Gavril Ardalionovitch seemed recalling something. Was it you, he asked, who sent a letter to Lizaveta Prokofievna? Lizaveta Prokofievna, a year ago, or even less, from Switzerland, I think. Yes, and you know about you here, and will certainly remember you. And they know about you here, and will certainly remember you. You want to see His Excellency? I'll announce you at once. He will be at liberty directly. Only you ought. You had better step into the waiting room. Why is the gentleman here? Yes, a servant, sternly. I tell you, he wouldn't himself. That moment the door from the study was thrown open, and a military man with a portfolio in his hand bowed himself out, talking loudly. You are there, Ganya, cried a voice from the study. Come here. Gavril Ardalionovitch nodded to Mishkin and went hastily into the study. 2 minutes later, the door was opened again, and the musical and affable voice of Gavril Ardalionovitch was heard. Prince, please come in. Damn, it's a mouthful. I'm out.